everyone. Welcome back for another live. Let me turn my microphone up because you probably cannot hear me. But yes, welcome another live. What is this like live number two in like maybe less than a week? But yes, this is going to be a continuation from the live that I was doing 2 days ago whenever I started talking about predictions, or whenever I did predictions, excuse me, but I didn't finish them because I said I wanted to go over the predictions that I put on my Twitter, but I was not able to access those predictions off of my tablet that I was using at the moment. So, since I'm not on my phone currently, I was able to go back through my recent threads um, and find the Twitter thread that I did about the predictions I have for whenever Pluto finally moves into Aquarius. Now, right now, Pluto is retrograding back through Capricorn. It may be at the 29th degree of Capricorn at the moment, or it may be on the 28th degree, but I know it's either between 29 degrees and 28 degrees right now when it pertains to Capricorn. And I've said before how, Capricorn rules over those sectors of governments when it pertains to like FBI, CIA, convictions and stuff like that. So don't necessarily be surprised if old convictions are coming out. But I believe I explained it on a tweet I did before where I said that, you know, people who are going through this particular process right now when it pertains to plea deals and convictions and stuff like that, make no mistake, they had their chance to accept a lighter sentence, but they chose not to. Okay, yes, I was on mute. I d On purpose. But I was saying before in that tweet how, they absolutely had their chance. They absolutely had their moment to accept a lighter sentence or to accept a plea deal, but they chose not to. Now, that was a bad idea because when Pluto shifted into Aquarius, we know at that particular point, Aquarius has a different perspective on things than Capricorn. Okay, or Capricorn. I'm still, of course, as I told you guys before, I'm reading my Greek mythology book, and Hades, of course, is tied to Scorpio, but I'm really trying to do my research and see if Hades is also tied to Capricorn as well. If so, then that kind of explains the devil card, which is like signifying hell. Okay. And based off of the artistry of the devil card, now at this point, possibly, who knows, maybe the devil card, the two people that are chained up in the devil card, maybe those people represent, Persephone, which was she was married to Hades, but we know, if you don't know, Persephone wanted to get she had those moments where she wanted to pretty much leave from hell to be away from him because it's too much. So those that maybe Hades could have chained up Persephone and a lover that she had while she was out of hell. And, he's just sinister like that. I'm still reading on this some more. Okay. But outside of that, like I said, Aquarius or Uranus is tied to heaven, as I mentioned before. So that's why I said whenever Pluto moves into Aquarius, there is going to be a different perspective. So that's why I was saying before how you're going to see a lot more people coming out talking about, sobriety and being clean and sober and trying to turn their life around. I mean, you know, um I guess churches better get ready because people are definitely going to start going back to church because a lot of people are going to be trying to repent, I guess, of the things that they did while Pluto was in Capricorn for like what, 20 years. So a lot of people are going to be looking for that guiding light and they feel that church is the answer. I'm not saying that church is not the answer, but you know, um you don't need the building to be of Christ or to be of God. I think that may be something that they're going to figure out at some point. But I do just see possibly a lot of people having this moment where there's going to be like, I want to turn over a new leaf type of thing. So prepare for the convictions, even more convictions. But again, if these convictions coming through seem like heavier sentences, it's not true. They were all, in my opinion, given the opportunity to take, who knows, probation or to take a fine to avoid jail time, but they chose not to because they thought if I waited out, then things are going to be, things are going to be different. Of course not. Um, and I did post that already one of our predictions has came to pass, guys. I posted on my community tab. Remember I said in my predictions, I said something about mummification coming back around or something like that. And I'm like, that would be weird because who would do that? And then today they posted a story on NBC how they were talking about bodies being mummified. And I'm just like, oh my God, that came to pass. So who knows if more of that is possibly going to creep up maybe over the next couple of weeks, months, years, who knows, okay? But to continue forward with this, with my Pluto in Aquarius predictions. Now, I believe Pluto will finally move into Aquarius next year. So early part of next year. So it could be January, of course, when Aquarius season is in motion. I'm gonna have to make 100% sure of that, but yes. Okay. So, oh, let me acknowledge my good people that are here. Every time I every time I oh, now I'm realizing it feels like every time I hit the mute on my little headset, it like clears out the chat, which is kind of weird because I need the mute. The mute does help. So I'm just gonna have to like figure this out in some other way. So hello to everybody that's already in here. I was about to acknowledge names, but now I know I can't do the mute. Now I know I can't do the mute. If you're watching me right now and you're about to try to live chat me, I'm gonna have to decline your live chat request because I'm in the middle of a live. So you'll have to wait till I get off the live, which shouldn't be too much longer. But back to what I was saying. So starting with from the top. Okay, Pluto in Aquarius predictions that one should prepare for. So, aliens or extraterrestrial sounds being picked up on radios. Now, I mean, this is probably a no-brainer because we do have NASA and stuff like that. And there it goes. I just said, whoever's about to do it, I can't right now because um oh my God, it's so loud on my computer. Hold on. Hold on, guys. Oh crap. I need to message them. Okay. Hold on. Just give me 2 seconds while I'm typing on YouTube. Uh, whoever this is. Okay, so I should probably take myself offline for like 2 seconds. Oh, I don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm gonna try to like put some pep in my step on this one. So, like I said, about the extraterrestrials and they don't stop. Oh my God. Oh my God. They don't stop. Okay, I'm gonna have to like take myself off. Sorry if you can hear all this going on, but I just need to take myself offline for a second. So if that is you and you again are messaging me trying to get me to do a reading at this point in time, I swear to Jesus, I am not ignoring you, but I just I just can't do it right now because I'm trying to get this live out of the way. So back to what I was saying. Aliens or extraterrestrial sounds being picked up on radios. Now this may be somewhat of like a no-brainer, because I put NASA right next to it, which is not shocking, but it may be more clearer than what we've possibly ever heard, like ever, or maybe in a while. And speaking of extraterrestrials or aliens, we may have a situation, or we may have more sightings of aliens or extraterrestrials. More sightings to the point where, you know, how before they have like the Area 51, and then there's so many myths and stuff like that surrounding Area 51. Now it's going to be kind of hard to debunk these because, you know, humans are going to be, a lot of people are going to be seeing this with their naked eye more than before. So it's going to be kind of hard at that particular point to debunk, because there's going to be too many people where they're just like, well, I saw it too. So am I crazy? So it's going to be kind of hard for NASA to just, it's going to be kind of hard for NASA to come out and be like, oh, maybe it was, maybe it was not. Okay. So that's number one. I don't know if I should type this in the chat so that, because I know a lot of you guys, you either like to write stuff down or you like for me to notate it. Okay. So I guess maybe I'll write it down in the chat. I mean, it's on my Twitter. Okay. But oh my God, with the text message. I appreciate you guys, I really do, using my little chat service, and I don't mind it. So that's just the way things are going to go. No more video readings or anything like that. Low chill stuff. Okay, so extraterrestrials being picked up on radios, NASA. Okay, so I'm just going to put them in the chat. Next, changes to laws that are going to restrict freedom more. Now, we talked about this in the last live that I did. Remember, I said, somebody remind me of the year I mentioned. I think I mentioned I think one of them was like 1908, and then another one may have been like 1952 or 1958, something like that. Some sort of law back then could be again up for review. Now, as I said before, you know, we've talked about this 3 years ago before the Supreme Court decided to overturn abortion, and we said there's no way on God's green earth that they're going to do such an asinine thing, and they made an ass out of us, didn't they? Even though we kind of predicted it, and this was a group effort. Okay. um Now, I don't remember what years I said that they could possibly be going back and changing things on the Supreme Court, because I remember talking about more years as well. I just don't remember. But some of you have taken notes, like as if we're like in a college class or something. But I appreciate that. But some of you have taken notes, so you may be able to remind me better than I can remind myself. Um So yeah, let me type that. Changes to laws to restrict freedom. And I think we talked about how the law I thought of was tied to immigrants and what they consider aliens, I guess. Immigrants, can't spell. Illegal aliens, I think. Um Like, I guess DACA would be involved in this, maybe. I'm not really well versed on DACA, so somebody may be well versed on DACA here, but that could be something. Blackouts, lightning strikes becoming more common. That's honestly not shocking to me, because think about it. Since Aquarius or Uranus is tied to heavens, the Greek god that sits in heaven is who? Zeus, who and his weapon of choice, lightning bolts. So that wouldn't really shock me, honestly. Um, I'm typing right now. Lightning strikes becoming more common. And blackouts. I talked about blackouts in 2021. One of you reminded me of that about 6 months ago that I made that note. Don't do it. My computer's really loud. I'm gonna have to turn the volume down on my other computer. I have a lot going on, guys. I'm sorry. I have been in meetings all day and no fun. Okay. Um anyway, moving on to the next thing. So blackouts, lightning strikes becoming more common. Heart issues now. I did not just type this. This is stuff that we've been talking about already. You know what I'm saying? Since the beginning. Oh my God. Obviously, whoever this is, it must be an emergency. Like somebody better be dying. Okay, that's the only way that really gets me out of my bed. If somebody is dying, obviously someone must be dying because it must be an emergency. I don't know how to message. Oh goodness. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm sorry for the dead air. Oh goodness. This is giving me issues right now. Dagnabbit. Okay, so to continue. Whoever this person is, I really hope they don't think I'm ignoring them because I'm really not. I just can't. I'm just trying to get myself together. Okay. Um, heart issues, AFib. Okay, or what is it called? Arterial fibrillation, something like that. Okay, heart issues, AFib. We've actually mentioned this a lot, and I probably mentioned this in personal readings as well as in weekly horoscopes. Okay, so this is nothing new, and this is not something that I just came up with overnight. Okay, it's not something I came up with overnight. I might just have to send a message. How do you do this? I'm gonna next on the list. Okay. Furniture restorations. I mean, furniture restorations in terms of people starting a business, people being really interested in having old furniture repaired. So this is going to see a big increase. I mean, maybe 20%. 20% is actually a lot if you think about how many people are in the world. So 20% increase. Okay, I'm just putting these in the chat so that if you guys go back through and you replay it, which I know some of you will, you'll be able to see this. Next. Okay. Yes. Okay. Now it wants to work. Now it wants to work. Okay, I think we got it. All right, so new friend groups. So some of you guys are going to get new friends. New friend groups are on the way, which that totally makes sense because Aquarius kind of gives me that friend. Now, these may be like online friendships. It may be, so online that you and them may not really ever meet, but you have a really close bond, and there's nothing wrong with that because you may feel like, wow, I'm way closer to you and we barely see each other. So I don't really see anything wrong with that. So new friend groups, okay, especially you air sign people or air sign placements. So that would be Libra, Aquarius, Gemini people. More friendships developing online, maybe water, but I think I'm more getting more air. Hey Virginia, good evening. Is it the evening? Yes, it is. Next, trying to find the fountain of youth, which is not shocking. But it may be this whole trying to find the fountain of youth. I'm going to put the word bizarre next to it because that may be how you take it. It may start to become more bizarre in terms of what they will be trying to do in order to find the fountain of youth. Now, some of this may have already came out because I think I saw an article one time about this. I think he was either a billionaire or a millionaire. Either way, he was using. I think he's like a scientist, but he was using his child's blood to help him remain youthful. think he was using his child's blood along with his own blood. I don't know what that process would be called, and I forget exactly how he was doing it. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. That's that bizarreness that we're going to be seeing in terms of people trying to find the fountain of youth. Okay, so it's going to be crazy the stuff that they're going to try to do. Now, next, Detroit, Michigan. Now, I don't know what's going to be going on in Detroit, Michigan, but that's what I got. And I know I spelt, no, I didn't. I spelled it right. I just didn't capitalize the D. So, Detroit, Michigan is also on the list in terms of predictions when it comes to Pluto and Aquarius. See, there it goes again. Don't reload. Next, Iran, Israel. Okay, now I don't know if something has already started to come out in the news when it pertains to Iran and Israel. I don't want to say war, but I'm going to put a question mark next to it, but I kind of got that feeling. War, bombs, exploitation. Okay. I didn't elaborate on this whenever I tweeted it, but I'm getting it now. So we're going to go with the flow. Okay. Next, we have motion pictures, movie studios. Um, this would be more so tied to like the writer's strike. There's going to be more to come. So, moving into Pluto and Aquarius, we may start to see a lot of productions that have technically already been shot, but they were probably shot maybe years ago, but they're just now coming out with the particular movies because they want to keep that particular area rolling despite the strikes that are going to be happening. And I talked about it again. Make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at the least, or at least on Twitter. I at least tried to post what I'm thinking about on one of those two sites, because if you saw my Instagram story yesterday, I tweeted about how I feel that music is going to get quite boring. Why? Let me go back and find the tweet. It was just a couple days ago, so it's not going to take me that long to find it. But I talked about this. Where is it? I don't like how on my iPad can't go further down. It's kind of irritating. Okay, going back. There it is. Okay, I said music is about to get so boring as soon as Pluto stations direct in Aquarius, which I said it starts next year. Because of this, favorite artists from the 90s and early 2000s, they may see an unexpected push for their music again. So, 90s artists as well as 2000 artists that were really popular push for their music again. Because again, as Pluto moves into Aquarius, a lot of these artists are going to be going through quote unquote awakenings, waking up from these ridiculous deals that they signed whenever Pluto was in Capricorn. So now they're going to be awakening. Hopefully there won't be a lot of near death experiences or eerie experiences that they may be having that's going to be causing this awakening, but we cannot rule that out either. But pretty much, I was saying how this particular transit, in a way, is going to make the world of music become very nostalgic. So, new artists, you know, I'm not saying that it's going to be impossible, but it's going to be difficult. You may even see artists who have been quite popular just decide that, it's just not even worth it anymore. And I'm just not going to be in this particular sector. So current artists or artists from the last 3 years, they will try to recreate hits from the past, but it won't go so well. Now, as I've talked about before, how Aquarius or Uranus is tied to the heavens. So gospel music will probably see a big push, or you may see more people collaborating with gospel artists or trying to go into that particular realm. Now, I don't know how this is going to go. Okay, because mixing trap music with gospel, that just does not sound correct. But somebody's gonna try. Um, So here's an example of this whole music scenario. The Weeknd. If you know The Weeknd, how could you not know The Weeknd? He recently did a song. Maybe this song is old, but the song that he did, I Don't Want to Know, is actually an exact replica of the 90s or early 2000s hit by Donnell Jones, who was an R&B singer, and his song was also I Don't Want to Know. It's literally, I mean, if you go listen to the lyrics of The Weeknd and you go listen to Donnell Jones's song, it is the exact same. But the thing is, the Weeknd song charted really high, even though it's an exact replica of what we've already heard, or at least what I've already heard, because I'm a Donnell Jones fan, you know. So who knows? Was it Montel Jordan? He had a really, really popular song. This is how we do it. That may be next, and people trying to remix that. That's kind of like what we're looking at possibly when it pertains to the musical sphere. So stuff like that could start to go on because the originality is like, I don't even know if it's originality. It's just dead at this particular point. So moving back over to finish the predictions, okay? Jazz music is going to see an increase. So jazz music, I'm not really a jazzy. Is Michael Franks considered jazz? Because if so, then I lied. I love I love Michael Franks. If he's considered jazz, then I'm there. But I don't really listen to any other jazz music outside of him if he is considered jazz. Okay. I can't think of any other ones. Okay, curing nerve disorders. Okay, so it could be a major nerve disorder. They may come out and say, okay, we've possibly found some sort of cure or something of that magnitude. Changes to the radio, which is not shocking because radio is actually tied to Aquarius. So now what changes? I think we'd actually maybe have already covered this in lives from like last year whenever I said about more news is going to be coming through the radio. So you know how back way, way back, especially during times, hopefully we don't see like mini wars going on. But if we do see a lot of mini wars going on, that means that there's a bigger war coming, which I strongly believe in that. I just don't know when it's gonna fall. Um so it's like back then getting news via the radio, or maybe even sending like subliminals over the radio. That may get more subliminals may get more popular, which I think the FBI may have possibly used subliminals and stuff like that during maybe like early 1930s or something like that. Um, who is behind the FBI? Is that Hoover? Am I thinking the wrong person? I don't know, but yes. So you may see an increase in that. And actually, I made my first subliminal yesterday. I was just curious to know, like, how does this work? And I was like, wow, I actually did a good job. So, yeah, subliminals may become a thing. So, secret messages, secret messaging ways, people are going to get very creative when it pertains to trying to pass along information that is bad, you know. Thank you. I figured it was Hoover. Thank you. I thought it was that, but I just wanted to check and make sure because sometimes, I'm wrong about that. But yeah, so I can see that. But what's next? Social gatherings, social affairs becoming more inclusive, but also people breaking into these social gatherings. Okay, so you know how they have like the Met Gala and they have those big celebrity filled events in terms of where it's like invite only is very, very inclusive. I'm not saying that's going to be a thing of the past, but it's not going to be as highly secured as they think because people are going to possibly, it's like we're going to be stepping into a world of rebellion where it's literally going to be like, it's going to feel like maybe at some times the survival of the fittest. It's going to feel like trying to differentiate between the half and that between the haves and the have nots. That line is going to be close. Yeah, that line is not going to be so gray. Let me say that. So don't be surprised if, I talked about it before I said scams, or don't be surprised if you petty crimes, petty thieves, but it's not going to be, some will be secretive, the big stuff, but especially when it pertains to cryptocurrency, that may be where we see that whole subliminal insider messaging thing going on, where people are going to find ways to get really crafty when it comes to stealing crypto and stuff like that, but it's not going to be so obvious. Again, you know, it's just going to be a completely different system, communication system. Okay, because now that Pluto, because we can't forget that Aquarius is still a Capricornian type of energy. So it's still in a way, or Saturn type of energy. So it still in a way kind of does highlight those branches of government, okay, that deal with security and stuff like that. But they are stepping up their game and they are becoming more tech savvy. So they're catching up with the times, which means now that the times are going to have to find a different way to fool these different departments. I still believe wholeheartedly in they only know what you tell them. And especially since Aquarius is tied to the internet, a lot of people really need to remove their lives from the internet. Like this whole, you're posting all the time, and I get photo dumps. Photo dumps are cool. I get the photo dumps. Like, you have that follower that, does a photo dump maybe every like month, once a month, and they're giving you all the goods that they've been doing the entire month. I get that. But every single day, that whole requiring a picture, but that is going to put a damper on the internet celebrity. So the internet celebrity in this time moving forward into Pluto and Aquarius, they may find it difficult to sustain themselves because Capricorn is big money. Capricorn is big money. Why? Because like I said, if I'm correct, and maybe Capricorn, or that Capricornian card, it has some sort of a tie to Hades. I talked about it the other day whenever I made mention that, Pluto or Hades, that is money that you cannot touch. That is money that you cannot count. Because if we look at the story of Hades, barely anybody can actually go to the underworld and visit him. Of course, they have to pay the price, but the price that they want to pay is too much. And a lot of times it involves you have to sacrifice somebody that is very important to you, and we're talking about a blood sacrifice. That is the fee that you have to give. I forgot the grim. I call him the Grim Reaper, but that's not his actual name. The person that takes you to Hades in the underworld. I forgot his name. We'll go over it in a second, or maybe not today, because today's video is going to be about Artemis, aka the moon. So we're going to talk about her, and we'll probably have to talk about Hades another day. But again, Pluto is that money that you cannot count. Okay. But you're not supposed to be able to count it. But it's like, think about it. A lot of billionaires have what? Heavy Pluto aspects in their chart. And name a billionaire that's ethical. Let's be honest. Let's talk about honesty here. Give me a billionaire that's ethical. Unless you won it from the lottery, you got to give me one that truly is ethical. And that just makes me think of, like I said, Hades, the sacrifice that they've had to make in that regard when it pertains to accumulating that amount of money is, that's crazy. And a lot of times it's a lot more than what it is on paper. So it's one of those things where yes, money is important, but I feel like this Pluto and Capricorn transit probably highlighted exactly what I'm talking about. How a lot of people were trying to sacrifice in that way to make it to Hades, to be on that boat ride. They wanted to make a sacrifice, whether it be killing parents or anything like that, because money is the root of all evil, I guess, if that's what we want to say. And that's what they were trying to push. That's what they were pushing with Pluto being in Capricorn. Now the mindset is shifting. Now it's going to be shifting to, okay, now we don't really want to go to Hades. Now we want to go to Mount Olympus. Now we want to go to Zeus. However, Hades is considered a second Zeus. So we still have to watch out from being bamboozled or led astray, if that makes sense, when it comes to this shift. But I said it before that the wealth is going to shift as well in terms of wealth is going to be changing hands. Now, I don't know whose hands is going to fall into. Maybe it's finally going to fall into hands of people that are going to appreciate it and do something with it for the world. I hope so. But again, we cannot forget that, like I said, Hades in my Greek mythology encyclopedia is considered the second Zeus. So there's still that possibility of temptation. Okay. Just me, thank you. Hermes, or Gemini, Hermes. There's so many different variations of how you say his name. We are going to talk about that one as well. I have a list. Look, the encyclopedia is like 800 pages. So if we want to go through the whole entire thing, we can. It'll just be different lives. So okay, yeah, thank you, Perry. It's something like I knew it was something like that. Thank you. I knew it was something. You got it. Thank you. There you go. That makes more sense. Money is well, that makes more sense. The love of money is the root of all evil. Now that makes sense. Okay. The other one made sense too, but I like yours better. um, hold on. Okay, so yes, so thank you, Paradox. I appreciate that. You guys are always so helpful to me because I'm like, sometimes I say things wrong and that's fine. I am not one that's gonna be like, I know I'm right, because I just like no. I just like to learn. I really do. I'm one of those kids. Or I say a kid like I'm still 12. I'm one of those people. But nonetheless, so we will talk about Hermes, Apollo, which will be considered the sun. We will also talk about Jupiter or Zeus. Juno is important in these stories, and actually Juno does play a part in the story that we're going to talk about later on when it comes to Artemis. Um, who else? I'm think Neptune, of course, we have to talk about Neptune or Poseidon. We might have to talk about Prometheus. I'm not sure. I feel like when you talk about Prometheus, because I think he has a part to play in one of these planets. I just don't know which one. Okay, because this is a lot of pages to go through. Um, Chiron, we will definitely talk about Chiron because he is very important. He is the wounded healer. And now, after reading his story, I understand why he is the wounded healer. He is like the adoptive parent. Yeah, that's it. He is literally the adoptive parent to me after reading the story. It's one of those, it's like Chiron is that grandmother or grandpa that it's like you send your kids you know, to help you out. If you're feeling overwhelmed as a parent, you just can't do it. And then you have Chiron. Chiron just like, sure, bring him over. No big deal. Go do what you have to do. I kind of get that vibe from Chiron. So we're going to talk about that as well. But there's like a lot to talk about. Okay. But continuing forward with the prediction. So to continue on the predictions, where are we going next? Okay, hold on. I got to go back. So we're going to learn a lot, and I'm actually like excited about this because when I first started my channel, I was learning, but not like this. And I'm just like so excited to pass this information along to you guys. I really am. So like I said, people are going to be breaking more into social gatherings, like the big events that celebrities have that is all inclusive. It's going to be kind of hard for them to secure those things because again, we're rolling into this energy where the have nots feel like, well, it's not fair that you guys get to have all this gold and all this stuff and we're out here suffering, so we're just going to take it all. Like heist, there's a lot of movies about people stealing from the rich, heist and stuff like that. So what is one of my favorite movies is like The Town with Ben Affleck in it. I really love that movie. So it's kind of like that. So we'll have to see. Okay, St. Louis may become a hot spot to live in. Okay, so I need to write down two things. So, um, breaking into social events or gatherings. St. Louis, which would be shocking to me if St. Louis becomes a hot spot. Becomes a hot spot to live in. We'll have to see. Okay, so people will be watching less television. And I can honestly see that because I am a television watcher. But over this, since this year started, I have not really been watching a lot of television like normally. Like whenever I do watch it, it'll just be to catch up on something, or whenever I do watch it, it'll be to catch up or just to watch a series that maybe came out like 8 or 9 years ago. So the TV, like reality TV industry, may see a little bit of a decline. So we'll see how that possibly may go. So people watching less television. So reality TV may decline. Not saying it's going to decline a lot, but I do feel like it may have some significant decline there. So that's why I said we'll just have to see about that. Okay, next. Skin issues, skin sensitivity. Not shocked. Skin issues, skin sensitive. Well, skin is ruled by Mercury. Um, I know I'm spelling sensitivity wrong. Skin is ruled by Mercury, so we'll have to see. Unless this is something for Geminis and Virgos. So skin issues, so estheticians, dermatology could become somewhat that kind of makes sense because I think that's Virgo. I said Virgo careers are definitely going to see a boom. So dermatology, I could probably see as Virgo because it's Virgo Mercury skin. So hotspot. Okay. Building many societies or bringing a lot of members only businesses and neighborhoods. I can see this happening. One of you asked me about this on the live the other day about becoming more inclusive when it pertains to neighborhoods and schools. Yes. So more inclusivity when it pertains to neighborhoods and schools. Exclusivity, yeah, that's the word. That's the word. Um, when it pertains to schools, neighborhoods, more gated communities, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of security. So more inclusive neighborhoods, schools. I already said that more people are probably going to go from homeowner to apartment living or condos because the amenities, you're not having to pay out of pocket a lot. People are going to see the benefit in that more than owning a house. It's just too much of a headache. And because of this, now people are going to be building more exclusive apartment buildings, or people going maybe more for apartments where there's like a doorman and then all this stuff. So yeah. Um or just living more, shoot, hotels. Hotel living may not be much of a stretch. Hotels are actually tied to Cancer because that's hospitality. So we'll have to see. Okay. Okay, so more people will be regretting getting veneers or and they're going to instead go for a more natural smile. Now, I don't know the reverse process when it pertains to from veneers back to your natural teeth, but I don't really think that that's a thing, but it could be. But yeah, you're going to see more people possibly focusing more on teeth. There's nothing wrong with that. So letting go of veneers, maybe, or just going for a more natural smile. So dentistry should probably go up. Okay, so spiritual experiences will increase. Example, seeing ghosts or other worldly things that were deemed impossible. But I kind of talked about that at the beginning when it pertains to aliens and stuff like that. Okay, so more supernatural experiences, i.e., seeing ghosts. Seeing ghosts or aliens or any sort of supernatural creature that maybe you read about in a book, which may not be shocking because I think they just came out with a news story. There's some sort of fish off of the coast of Japan or something like that. I don't know the exact name, but this fish is, I think, is considered like somewhat of like a myth in terms of like Japanese culture. I don't know the exact name of it, but apparently, according to Japanese culture, Japanese folklore, whenever you see this fish, then there means that there is a tsunami or an earthquake afoot, according to the tale. Now, they said the last time that this fish popped up, I think was in 1932 or something like that, and there was like a terrible earthquake or tsunami off of one of those islands close to Japan. And now we're seeing it in 2023. So, um that's interesting because I mean, there's so many folklores to read about. Okay. So I'll be here to read them to you guys, maybe. But if I remember what they called it, I will try to find if I can, like maybe get the book somewhere that they talk about this. But you guys should not be shocked because we've already talked about this on predictions. Okay. Same thing I talked about years ago about a bridge falling. That happened out of nowhere. It just happened in the middle of the day in a major bridge. Boom, fall, crack. Okay. I mean, they fixed it pretty quickly, but I really am going to have to find that story and find that tale folklore because now I'm going to read it and see what else did it say because it's just not good. And the crazy thing is, I think the scuba divers were able to touch it. I don't even know if I want to if there's a folklore about a fish that comes from the depths of the ocean, okay? I don't think I want to touch it. That's just me. Anyway, so new age teachings, new age schools. So I guess new age would kind of be like this, maybe kind of like what I'm doing, maybe. I don't know if I would consider that new age, maybe it is, but yes. So there may actually end up being schools dedicated, actually, popping up. I think they do have schools like this, maybe in like India or something like that when it comes to astrology. And but you may start to see that more possibly in the United States, in other countries as well. So new age teachings and new age schools. So maybe even being able to go to school and get a major in this or get a major in astrology. um there is something in my chart that says maybe as I get older, I may venture into the world or the realm of philosophy. I'm starting to feel like that a little bit sometimes. But I don't know, to be continued. Um, eye problems. Yes, eye problems, eye troubles. Um, oh, hey Roberta, welcome. Of course, this live will be available for replay, so you can always go back and listen to it. Okay. Well, well, paradoxal, you can absolutely do it because I do feel like probably more, schools for that will be popping up. I know you can find, I guess, stuff like that in like India and stuff like that. So is going to start to become maybe more mainstream. They may even actually incorporate particular courses, maybe like for astrology, in actual universities. Who knows? Harvard, Oxford, or whoever. So yeah. Okay, so changes to wireless. Now, this I can definitely see happening because the wireless. Oh, oh, okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, so the wireless, I can totally see. If if at this point, if you have a cell phone, have you not been noticing that wireless has been kicking your tail recently? It's like every other day or every week, it seems like something is dropping, service is dropping. Like today, I was working today, and I was in the midst of a meeting, and my internet kapusha. Like, what is this? And I don't understand because it just blinked and blinked and blinked for like 5 minutes and then turned back on. It's just so irritating. Even my phone, even my phone completely fine and all of a sudden SOS, please someone help me. Like, what is that about? Like, please fix it. Um, okay, so I already put that. Change in wireless. So the increase in Scientology, which I don't know about this one. The increase in Scientology or increase in cult-like followings. Okay, thank you, D1. That's what it's called, or fish. Okay. Oh, here you go, guys. I mean, maybe. I don't know if I should share my link to where you can get free stuff, educational items. Maybe not. Maybe I should keep that to myself. But it's a great source, has a lot of good books. That's where I find all my astrology books, you know. I mean, it should be okay. I should be able to post it. I don't own the site, so yeah, I'm putting it in the chat. You guys can go to that site and yeah, good resources there. So Japan of folklore. I'm pretty sure there's a book in here. Um I don't know. Now the site I gave, some days it kind of wants to do its job and some days it does not. So you just have to be patient and you might just have to like save, the link to the book that you want and then come back another day to look at it. Yeah, they don't have a book on folklore, but I'll have her maybe like look it up on maybe I have to look it up on Google and see if I can find a book and maybe see if I can find it on that site. But yeah. Oh, you're welcome. I mean, and great quality too, as well, I might add, in terms of the book. It's great quality. So, it's just FYI in case you are interested in getting some free books. Which is why I have that resource thing on my website because it's like, look, if I got it for free, that's just kind of crazy to be making you guys pay for it and I got it for free. Anyway, so like I said, increase in cult-like followings, but that kind of makes sense because remember I said with Pluto going into that heaven like sign, think about like the history behind religion and the scare tactics behind religion, which essentially ends up turning into cult-like followings. You know what I'm saying? So I can see that. Um Okay, so truth bombs dating back as far to BC times will come out, which I don't know what this is going to be about, but I'm just going to put it in here. So truth bombs dating as far back as BC. Oh shit, not back. sorry, back, not BC. Oh, don't put that. As far back as BC. Oh, maybe I typed it wrong. Okay, I did type it right. BC times coming out. What could they possibly come up with when it pertains to that? I don't know. Um, okay, so a lot of people will be doing their own research, like us over here on this side of town. I mean, look here, people. On my side of the town, we have been doing our own research. We have these lives where everybody's researching something on their phone because I'm picking up on something, and we're like, "What's this? What's that?" And so this is nothing new to us people on my street, but it will be good for a lot of people to start doing more research. So people will start to do more research, meaning what? Probably admissions to college is probably going to drop, excuse me. More of their own research. Oh, Ireland. Hello, Jelly Belly. Hey, welcome in. I think that actually may be on my list of places to visit. I have some places I want to visit, definitely. Ireland, Ukraine, Japan, New Zealand, probably. Haven't been to Hawaii. I really want to go to Hawaii, but then again, um, you know, I don't know if they are saying that, outsiders should not come right now. I don't know if that's the story, but it is on my list. Um, okay, so stalking. Now, this is a big one. Stalking will increase. Like, stalking will go to a whole new level. To a new level, for sure. Okay, so that's what I was talking about before, whenever I was saying how when it comes to like the FBI and those particular groups, um, they don't know what you don't tell them. You know, if you even think back to like mobsters, Al Capone, and all those people, they don't know nothing unless people tell them, unless people are snitching. Thank God back then they didn't have social media. Could you imagine that mob boss period probably wouldn't even really existed if they had social media because it would have been too easy to catch these criminals, you know? Hopefully the mob boss era does not come back up because that is just no bueno, but I'm not going to rule it out because we did talk about the period of 1908, which was whenever they came out with the Model T car. And that's whenever mobsters, mob bosses had a better means of transportation to go around do their bidding. So, we don't know. Okay, so it's best to stay more private in a way, not completely be a recluse, okay, but not be so open about what you're doing. Stalking, 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 stalking. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's going to be shows that they're probably going to make or produce about the ease of how people can get your information, or maybe even try to make a show about people being stalked or something like that. Okay, so a major political movement is coming. I actually picked up the UK, but I feel like possibly the UK, or you're just going to see more political movements happening around the country. And thanks to who? Honestly, the United States. You know, happening. Okay, this is not a sentence. So yeah, major political movement coming, UK. What was I looking at? I think whenever I made this particular prediction, I think I pulled up the chart of King Charles as well as is it who's the son? The baldy. I mean, he's balding. His head's kind of like the way he's balding is in the shape of like a tennis ball. Have you ever seen a tennis ball? It has that like little curve, and then it's like the top part of it is like kind of free. If you've ever seen a tennis ball, so he's balding in that top spot on the tennis ball. Is it William? I think so. Maybe that's it. I was trying to look at his Heracles placement that I talked about to see if he was possibly going to rise to power. But I think I talked about that before at some point where I said that it may fall with him, William. Like I mean, I don't know. He may possibly get rid of something in Parliament, or he himself may just be a part of Parliament, but may not necessarily be the ruler. We'll have to see. I just realized that it does like the way he's balding is in the shape of a tennis ball, so I don't understand why he just doesn't shave it. I mean, he probably would look weird being bald, but at that point, just let it go. You're getting older. There's not much you could do at this point, unless you're gonna get a toupee or a wig. Um, but that wouldn't be shocking because they did wear wigs way back then. If we're talking about uh the founding fathers, so I mean, hey, he could do that. Okay, so lots of accidents or weird occurrences will be taking place in the South Pacific. What these are, I don't know. So please don't ask me to elaborate on that because I don't know. I just wrote it down the way I got it. Okay? I'm assuming probably animals. Probably. Okay. I might have to agree, Jelly, on that one. I might have to agree. Can you imagine him in a wig closet? Okay. Oh, hilarious. Okay, so aerial objects are going to be entering the atmosphere more. Issues with navigation or GPS also. Oh my God. I don't have a caps lock button on my laptop, so I'm just like pressing where the caps lock button should be, and it ain't there. Um, okay, okay, so this one is kind of gross. There will be some sort of bodily fluid trend. If this hasn't started happening, we could see this starting to pop up. Example, peeing on yourself or peeing on people or yourself could become a trend. That may be the next big thing that may hit OnlyFans. That's pretty gross. Couple more on this. Because of this, this will increase STDs and odd diseases. Speaking of that, blood disorders also. I've talked about misdiagnosis, so watch out for that. And dehydration issues are so bad. So bad. So bad coming up. Drink your water. Even if you, I like drinking water. I finally got like a canteen, which I got a good canteen that I'm not going to lose because the other canteens or water bottles that I've gotten, I always lose them at somebody's soccer field, their state. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I damn sure ain't drinking behind by. That ain't going to happen. I think I was at a game on Sunday. One of the girls, because I take my water bottle and I put it down next to the goal whenever I'm in the game. And she said, because it was like really hot, and she was like, "Hey, can I have a drink of your water bottle?" I'm like, "The devil is a lie. What the fuck are you thinking? Are you joking? You ain't about to put your lips on nothing." I'm like, "You can unscrew the top, but even then, I don't know about that because where your lips has been." But you know, so yes, so just saying, dehydration issues. So be careful about that. Drink your water, even if you get flavored water. I drink flavored water sometimes, like the one you get from like Walmart or something, and it's like 88 cents. And there's like strawberry and there's like peach and mango. I really like those. I don't know if they're really good for you, but I still get my water in like usual, just a little bit of a kick. Um But yes, so try to find some sort of a good alternative in terms of like if you don't really like just shoot drinking water straight, try to find something. Oh yes, get better footwear. These heels, these shoe manufacturers that make heels, they're going to be making them tighter if they haven't started doing that already, and this is going to cause issues with your calf muscles. If you ever had a Charlie horse, you know what I'm saying. Or is putting a strain on your muscles, especially if, with the shoe being more tight. So ankle injuries and all that good stuff. So you have to watch out for that. Even if we're talking about tennis shoes, getting a good pair of tennis shoes when it comes to walking and stuff like that will be good. Okay. So get better footwear because issues with calf muscles or just the muscles, period, are very likely during this period because all of this is going to be tied to the feet. And the feet is tied to Pisces. And we know Saturn is going to be in Pisces for about good 2 years. Okay. So, yes. Microchips will be a thing if it hasn't started already. microchips humans. So who knows? Maybe even being able to pay for things with your human body parts because you're microchipped like a pet. Oh, do you accept Visa, MasterCard, or Discover? Yes. Just scan my bicep and the payment will go through. Um okay, so something going on with the birds. Who knows what that could be? The government will give out a lot of grants or free money to people of color. Not saying this because I am black as hell. I'm not. I literally picked that up. I, I don't know if they're possibly doing this as their way of reparations or maybe they're doing this for whatever the hell. But yes. Eh. Oh, and it's interesting. I put that right there. Reclaiming lands from ancestors, reparation. So maybe. I talked about that in the live, was it 2 days ago, where I said spirit is coming to collect. So that doesn't necessarily mean spirit when it comes to just people of color. That could be anybody, okay? Maybe your ancestors helped people of color at some particular time in history. Your ancestors could be coming to collect as well because it's just like, you know, we helped them escape from your devilish ways, so we need to be repaid too. It just depends on your spirit team. Because some of you guys absolutely had spirit teams that absolutely helped during times that were needed. Okay. So it just depends. And okay, so more actors or actresses will be running for Congress or in politics. You may see this already, but it's coming. More of this is coming. Okay. And also, more people will be interested in blended families or mixed race families. Now, let me elaborate on this a little bit. That blended family part is it's giving like an energy to me of somebody that doesn't want kids, but they end up someone with kids is no big deal now. You know how in Pluto and Capricorn, it's all been about legacy, 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 legacy. I want to build my legacy. I want to have, I want to start from scratch. A lot of people are going to be kind of moving away from that a bit, especially, like I said, those that may not want to have kids. They're of their own kids, but they don't mind being a part of the team to like maybe raise your kids, or it could be vice versa. So you may see a lot more of that going on. Okay. So this whole notion of, well, I would say we're moving past it, not super fast, but we are moving past it in terms of people being super, super picky when it pertains to, oh, if you have a kid, don't even look my way. Because now, um, remember I said we're heading into a period of time where that line is going to be kind of gray, especially when it pertains to wealth. Okay, is going to start to seem a little bit like survival of the fittest. So now people's mindset are probably going to change. Like, you know what? All right, I could do this. You only have like one or two kids. Ain't no, that's not that big of a deal. Okay, you may start to see that happening more. I mean, it shouldn't have been a big deal from the beginning, but unfortunately, the world made a big deal about that. Okay. So that is the end of the predictions thread that I have had. Okay, so we're going to talk about Artemis, the story of Artemis. I'm going to make this not so long. So, continuing along this learning journey that I have when it pertains to Greek mythology and me applying this to my readings in the future when it comes to astrology, even tarot, because it does open up a new door to me when it pertains to tarot, you know. So Artemis, otherwise known as Diana, She is the Olympian goddess of the hunt and the moon. Now, her parents are Leto, and her father is Zeus. Now we know Zeus, well, if you don't know, Zeus had a lot of kids with a lot of different people, a lot of women that are mortals. Now, Artemis has a twin. Artemis's twin is Apollo. Apollo is the sun god. So, if we're looking at in tarot terms, Artemis would be signified by the moon tarot card, which is ruled by the number 18, and Apollo is ruled or signified by the sun card in tarot, which is ruled by the number 19. Okay, as you can see, they are well, if you haven't noticed, they are right next to each other in terms of chronological order. Artemis is 18, Sun is 19. Now, there are some speculations from historians on who was born first. They said that Apollo was born first, but then some others came back in and said, no, Artemis was actually born first. It doesn't matter who was born first, they are twins. Now, if we go by the chronological order of the tarot, in the major arcanas, Artemis comes first because she's number 18. So we're just going to say that maybe, in this instance, Artemis is the older twin by maybe a couple of seconds or maybe a couple of minutes. Okay. Now, like Apollo, Artemis is also known as Phoebe or Bright because she is considered, another name for Artemis is the torch bringer, because she, as a goddess of the moon, she brings light to darkness. Now, again, if you can visualize the moon tarot card, you see how the rays of the moon are shining very brightly. I think that just goes along exactly with what it's saying about how she brings light to dark. Okay. Now, Artemis carries a quiver and arrows, and she lets loose a rain of arrows and is arrow pouring, while Apollo is the far shooter, like a sharpshooter, if you have to think about it maybe in military terms. Okay. Apollo is the far shooter because of his association with archery. Now, Artemis's domain is in the woods, and again, looking at, and actually, I think I'm going to get, oh, let me see. I'm going to try to see if I can pull up the moon tarot card so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Because I believe actually in that tarot card, it does show kind of like a depiction of a forest. Or, similar, I guess, to what we would look at as a forest. Hold on, let me get a good one. Let me get a good picture. Okay. Well, while that's loading. But anyway, we'll look at it in a second. But anyway, like I said, on the moon tarot card, it kind of does look like a forest, especially in the Rider-Waite a little bit. All right. So, since her domain is the woods, particularly those of Arcadia, where she is a protector as well as a huntress of animals, another depiction that is shown on the card. The card shows, well, on this card I'm looking at, it has a dog and a wolf and also a crab, but that is her domain. She is the goddess, the protector of animals. So, I mean, if a Cancer, because of course, Artemis, moon, Cancer, if a Cancer is doing it right, if a Cancer is really in that particular energy of Artemis, bringing light to darkness, a lot of animals are going to be attracted to that Cancer. That is a Cancer truly in its flow, truly embodying the goddess Artemis. So even if you yourself have Cancer placements, you know, and animals are drawn to you like that, it seems like you can't get away from it. And mosquitoes count. It's still an animal. Mosquitoes count if you're getting ate alive by mosquitoes and stuff like that. Then you are probably, like I said, embodying this true energy. And Artemis's energy is very powerful. I mean, think about how, again, I've said it all the time, how the sun and the moon are very powerful because they also do not retrograde. They are planets that they don't have a retrograde motion. So that is powerful to me. I mean, not saying retrograde planets are not powerful, but to kind of like stay the same way or stay in the same rotation the entire time, I mean, come on, come on. Okay. But to continue. So, in the Orphic hymn to Artemis, she is associated with female chastity, but also with childbirth. Of course, I talk about it all the time how moon is tied to the womb, tied to mother. So that makes sense. Now, in cult practice, this aspect of Artemis is actually very important. The circumstances of Artemis's birth vary according to what source we're going to go with. Now, in some sources, like I was talking about previously, she is born at the same time as Apollo. However, in others, she is considered born earlier or later. But like I said, in the tarot, she's considered, based off of the card numbers, she's considered being born before Apollo or her brother. Okay. Now, the Homeric hymn to Apollo and the Orphic hymn to Leto describe the long search by Leto to find a site where she could give birth. Now, the story of Leto is, of course, Leto is the sixth wife to Zeus. Yes, she is number six. So you can, like I said, he got a lot of kids. But Zeus was also married to Hera. Now, Hera also goes by another name, aka Juno. You guys have heard about Juno in astrology, right? Maybe. The planet Juno they talk about is how it's tied to marriage. Okay. But if we really go into the story of Hera, Hera was very, very jealous of all of Zeus's wives, of course. She wasn't jealous of Zeus for cheating, which is crazy. I mean, she wasn't not jealous. She wasn't mad at Zeus for cheating, but she was mad at the wives and Zeus's offspring. That's bananas. Bananas. Because but maybe she wasn't mad at Zeus because of the fact that Zeus is a god. He is the god. So what else are you going to expect from a god other than to have a lot of children? And maybe, speaking of Zeus, since he is Jupiter, maybe exalted Jupiter or people, men, or maybe people, I would say maybe more so men, with heavy Jupiter aspects, maybe they have a lot of kids. Maybe like Nick Cannon. Now, I haven't dove deep into his chart, but maybe if we think about how many wives Zeus had, how many children he had, you know, so Hera, like I said, was jealous of all the wives of all the children. So since Leto was Zeus's sixth wife, that's why in this particular text is saying that Leto was trying to find a place where she could give birth to her twins, Artemis and Apollo, because Hera was on her ass. She wants to make it to where you cannot give birth to these children because I hate you because you are having kids by my husband, the god of Olympus. So you're mad at the wrong person here. She's mad at the wrong person here, but nonetheless. So Hera was pretty much trying to stop Leto's, you know, birth from happening. So that's why in the text they're just like Leto had to go all over the place to try to find a place that would allow her to give birth because can you imagine being the sixth wife or the mistress, however you want to call it, because divorce the other wives. Can you imagine being in that particular position and the first wife is after you at every single turn and you cannot do anything? That just seems very, very difficult. Can't even do anything to the point where you can't even have birth because she despises you that much. Now, Leto ended up finding a place. I think it's called Delos. I could be wrong about how I say that, but she did finally find a place to give birth. Okay, 2 seconds, guys. I'm going to be on mute because I have to go check the oven. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so she did finally find a place to give birth, which is Delos. Okay, this was the only place that Leto, who is the mother, like I said, of Artemis and Apollo, was able to finally get him out of her womb. Now, in the Homeric hymn to Delian Apollo, the goddesses assisting Leto during her labor persuaded Iris, who is the messenger of the gods, to summon Eileithyia, I think that's how you say her name, the goddess of childbirth, whom Hera had kept away for 9 days and nights to prevent the birth of Apollo and Artemis. Apollodorus's library maintains that Artemis helped deliver her brother shortly after her own birth, which makes sense. It goes back to my original statement of saying that obviously, based off of the way that they created the tarot, Artemis came first. And the text says, according to Apollodorus, that Artemis helped deliver her brother. Now, how is that possible? And you were just born? I don't know. But then again, she is a god. So, Artemis is also sometimes called Cynthia after Mount Cynthus on Delos. The sanctuary on Delos was the site of worship of Apollo, Artemis, Zeus, and Leto. Now, Apollo and Artemis are both partial to meting out violent punishment for impiety or challenges to their functions. So, since Artemis is the goddess of chastity, okay, if you are challenging chastity in a way, or if you are challenging her chastity, she's going to get you. The punishment is going to be violent. For Apollo, which I actually just learned this, or why did I not know this? Apollo has a musical skill. I think he plays the lyre or something like that, which I did not know that. But now it kind of makes sense how Leo is tied to entertainment. So I didn't think about that. But yes, so if you challenge Apollo at any sort of musical skill, you're going to be met with a violent punishment. So these two do not like to be stepped over in terms of the skills. Even if you're better than them, that don't exist. You're not better than them, even if you actually are. It doesn't matter. Okay? Now, another thing as well, they also will give out violent punishments to anybody that disrespects their mother, Leto. Because, of course, why would they not? Their joint punishments of Niobe and Titus were motivated by a desire to avenge their mother's honor. Now, Niobe was the wife of the king of Thebes, Amphion, king of Thebes. And Niobe, or Niobe, however you say it, had a lot of children. Okay. She had at least between 5 and 10, which is a big amount, between 5 and 10 of each sex. So 5 girls, 5 boys, or 10 boys and 10 girls. And because she had so many children, she felt that she was superior, that she was the better mother than Leto, who was only able to bear 2 children. So because Leto was only able to bear 2 children, Niobe, the wife of the king of Thebes, automatically took it as, oh, I'm better than you because look at what I can do as a mother. You already know what's coming. Artemis and Apollo are coming for your ass because you have disrespected the mother. And that is a part of the story as well. So Niobe was very proud of her children, and she boasted about, like I said before, that she was superior to Leto, and because Leto only had 2 children. And because of this, Apollo and Artemis decided to seek revenge on their mother's behalf. Now, it doesn't say in the story if their mother told them to do this or it was just a instinct that we have to get you back. Now, Apollo's arrows killed all the male children, and Artemis's arrows killed all the female children because Artemis and Apollo both carry arrows. That is their weapon of choice. Okay. Now, Titus is the other person in the story that Artemis and Apollo have an issue with. Outside of Niobe, we already dealt with Niobe and her children. They're dead, gone, finito. Now we're on to Titus, okay? So Titus attempted to Rape, Artemis's mother, who is Leto. And because of this, Titus was killed by either the arrows of Apollo or Zeus killed him with his thunderbolts. Because again, Zeus is a god, Zeus sees everything, and that includes he keeping tabs on all of his wives from atop Mount Olympus. So there's not anything that he does not see that is not going on. So that is the story, that he either killed him or Apollo killed him. We don't know. Now, both Apollo and Artemis fought on the side of the Olympian gods against the giants and the Titans. Now, this was the Trojan War we're talking about now. Now, both Artemis and Apollo sided with the Athenians, but at a particular point in the conflict, Apollo has a change of heart, according to Homer's Iliad. And he says at that particular point that he, as well as Artemis, they should not be fighting each other, or the Olympians should not fight each other over mortals. Now, of course, Artemis didn't like that. Artemis got mad at her brother for his lack of balls, to put it simply. But since Artemis opposed Hera, now remember, Hera is the first wife of Zeus. So you don't really get to oppose her, because that is not how this works. Because when you do that, you get Hera's wrath. But not just that, we also have to go back and remember that Hera doesn't like Artemis or Apollo already, because they are Zeus's outside children, technically. So she already has an issue with them. So any little thing that they do is going to release her wrath, and she don't like that, So that's what happened. Artemis opposed Hera in her defense of the Trojans. Hera then attacked Artemis and forced her to flee. Now, later on, Leto, which is their mother, ended up retrieving the quiver and arrows that the two of them left behind in battle whenever they scattered away because of Hera's wrath. Okay, because remember, they had a change of heart. They were already fighting against the giants, and they were fighting on the side of the Olympian gods, which means they're fighting on the side of their father as well as their uncle, because Hades as well as Poseidon, that's family. So they were siding with the side of family, but then they realized, like, wait a minute, why are we doing this? Because we're kind of like, I don't know if Leto will be considered mortal. I have to read her story. But if they were considered half mortal, that would be where Apollo all of a sudden has this conscience that pops up. And now he's like, this ain't right. This ain't right. We shouldn't be fighting mortals. They're mortal. We're immortal. So that's not right. But that's an issue, because you can't change up. You can't switch it up, because you're supposed to fight on the side of family all the time. Hence, Hera unleashed the wrath. So after Leto recovered the twins' weapons from the battle after they had to flee before they got killed, Artemis and Apollo also jointly helped repulse the challenge to the Olympians posed by Allidae, the twin giants. I don't know how you say it. Epheltes, I don't know how you say it, and Otis, however their names are. But yada, yada, yada. There's this whole thing going on with the giants and stuff like that. And Apollo ended up killing one of the giants because they tried to rape his sister. And that's another part of the story, but it's not really super important. Moving down. Okay. So this is where we're going to get more into about Artemis herself. Now, in several texts, Artemis is characterized as an aloof figure, which is kind of interesting, because I don't know if you guys have ever described cancers as being aloof, maybe, but if so, okay, that kind of fits, maybe. And though she is associated with positive aspects such as the protection of the young and chaste or women during childbirth, she has, like Apollo, a very dark and terrifying aspect as well. That's whenever the moon card turns into reverse. That is the worst side of the moon. That is the worst side of the moon goddess Artemis. You don't really want to be in the vicinity when it pertains to Artemis in her dark side, because again, she's a twin Apollo's, it's weird how, even in astrology, they kind of talk about the dark side of sun, but you guys know I always say the dark side of the moon because I'm being for real about that. There is a legit dark side of the moon that you really do not want to run into. Okay? It is not fun. I don't even know how to explain it. But I don't know. Pick something. But it's pretty bad. So Artemis is wrathful if proper piety is not shown to her or if her companions, domain, or animals are threatened. So if oh, now we might be getting into something here. Think of animals, makes me think of they're a part of Earth, right? A part of Mother Earth. If you are threatening Artemis's domain, which includes animals, her companions, friends are companions, not just lovers. She did take a vow of chastity, so I think Artemis may be a virgin, which is interesting because we always associate like Virgo with the virgin, right? But maybe it really is Artemis is the virgin here. Maybe. So, if you are threatening to any of her companions, to her vow of chastity, to youth, to kids, um, animals, you will be dealt with accordingly, however that is. Her wrath will be felt, it will be strong. Remember, Artemis brings light to darkness. So when you piss her off, there is no more light. There is pure darkness, pure abyss. Now, it may be similar to maybe hell, but you know, just even reading about Hades, Hades seems kind of chill. And I know that probably sounds bad, me saying that, but he does seem pretty chill for the most part because he knows his job. He knows my job is to collect souls. My job is to deal with these idiots that want to be on earth and just want to disobey my brother, who I really don't really like that much, but we're here. He is chill about that. Okay, I'll be back in just a second. Stay there. Okay, so I said for the most part, just based off of which we will get into Hades. I don't know what day, or Pluto. I don't know what day we're gonna get into it, but for the most part, just reading it, he's pretty chill until you pretty much mess with his wife. Outside of that, you can do whatever you want to do because maybe that's just him really respecting the fact of free will. Like, you're going to do whatever you want to do. So if you screw up and you have to come down here, that's on you. You can't blame nobody else but yourself. Hence, remember I was talking about before how Hades or Pluto is tied to that wealth that you can't touch because you have to make a blood sacrifice. You don't have to make the sacrifice. That is your choice. And I think Hades has a good grasp about that. This is all your choice. You don't have to do it. You don't have to sacrifice, people that are important to you for money. You don't have to do that. It is on you. But don't be mad when you have to pay the Pied Piper. Don't be mad. But anyway, back to the story. So, Artemis is wrathful if proper piety is not shown to her, or if her companions, domain, or animals are threatened. Artemis permitted Heracles, aka Hercules, to capture the Ceryneian hind only when the hero persuaded her that it was a labor laid on him by Eurystheus. I think that's how you say it. Okay. I guess we can finish this. Because this next part of the story is pretty much just goes into detail about the wrath of Artemis and what Artemis will do. So this next part is about how someone neglected to offer proper piety to Artemis, and she punished them. She filled their marriage chamber with serpents, which ended up killing them, all because you did not properly acknowledge her, or all because you did not protect whatever the story was, because they don't say why she had to. They don't say like if he forgot, if he was rude to animals. It doesn't say. It just says, it just talks about how she punished them. So I'm assuming he did something stupid. The King Onias of Caledones is the one that she punished, looks like. um Let me see. In another myth, Artemis first demanded, then prevented Agamemnon's sacrifice of his daughter, substituting a deer in place of the young girl. Oh, that's pretty fucked up. I mean, excuse my language, but that's pretty messed up. Agamemnon, that's how you say his name, did not properly um, worship, however you want to label it, Artemis, and she turned his daughter into a deer and ended up making the daughter the guardian of a particular temple. So the man, Agamemnon, was pretty much never able to see his daughter again. That's terrible. I'm sorry, that is so bad. But and the daughter was young. It's not like the daughter was a teenager or an adult. I mean, this was like a young girl, maybe, who knows, maybe 5, 6, whatever. But that's terrible. Never to see your daughter again. That sucks. Um, but here's another thing that's interesting about what I just said about the girl that she turned into a deer because her dad would not properly like acknowledge Artemis. The crazy thing is that Artemis wanted the dad to sacrifice his daughter for her, but then Artemis changed her mind and said, "Don't worry about it." But it's almost coming through like, even though Artemis said, "Don't worry about it," it almost comes through like Artemis still expected the dad to sacrifice the daughter for her anyway, even though she said, "Don't worry about it." And because he didn't go ahead and sacrifice it, it's just like, oh, too bad. Your daughter is now going to be a deer and she's now going to be in charge of guarding a temple. That is pretty jacked up. It's like, how you going to take it back? I'm sorry. As a Cancer, I ain't going to lie to you. As a Cancer, I have seen this done. Cancer say something, they take it back, and then they get on your ass for not doing what they originally wanted you to do, even though you said never mind. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie, and do not lie if you're a Cancer in here. It's like that's where the confusion comes in. That's where the emotional manipulation comes in. Now, I definitely did this whenever I was younger. I don't really do it much anymore. I kind of just like be quiet. But yes, that's where the emotional manipulation comes in. It's like you can't say it and then don't worry about it, but then really you wanted them to kill their daughter to prove their loyalty to you in the first place. So you should have just stuck with your story. That's what you should have done did. Because now I done lost my freaking darn daughter because you can't be direct and won't. That sounds Cancer. But anyway, to continue forward, um Intel, like I said, she ended up making his daughter the guardian of her temple, which made her immortal, meaning you can't die. Now you are indebted to me forever and ever and ever and ever. That sucks. I mean, it just literally sucks. Next story or next part of this. Okay, so in the Homeric hymn to Aphrodite, now Aphrodite, by the way, is Venus. Artemis is singled out as one of the three goddesses, along with Athena and Hestia, over whom love has no sway. Artemis is singled out. Okay, okay, okay. I had to read that again. So Artemis, Athena, and Hestia are goddesses that cannot be swayed by love. Aphrodite, which we definitely need to read the story of Aphrodite because we are in Venus retrograde and Aphrodite is tied to Venus. So before I continue with this, Aphrodite chose to be with Ares, the god of war, but she was already married to another. She was already married to Hephaestus, and I think Hephaestus is actually a god tied to fire. But Aphrodite was swayed by the love that Ares was showing her, which entail made her like pretty much leave her home and go start this whole relationship. I can't remember if they got married, but they had a couple kids, but it started this whole thing. And that's what led to her husband, Aphrodite's husband, Hephaestus. That's what led to him shackling Aphrodite to her. I guess we would call him a mistress because that's exactly what Ares was. Ares was the mistress. So to punish her, to make a fool of her, he chained her to this love, probably naked, because most of the time they were naked. And he paraded her in front of all the gods. Can you imagine how demeaning that is? But he wanted to prove a point. But we'll talk about Aphrodite later. Okay? Because Aphrodite also very bitter, but we'll talk about that later. So again, Artemis, Athena, Hestia cannot be swayed by love, unlike Aphrodite. Okay. Defense of purity is the central theme of Artemis's best known myths, excuse me, those of Callisto and Hippolytus. And the hunters, yeah, and there's two hunters. I don't know these. I mean, these names, my God, where do they come up with these names? I know one of them is Orion, and the other one starts with an A. Actaeon, maybe. Okay, in Ovid's Metamorphoses, Actaeon surprised Artemis and her nymphs bathing on Mount Cithaeron in wherever they were at. Okay, enraged that she had been seen nude. That makes sense because Artemis is supposed to be chastity. So nobody's supposed to be seeing Artemis naked unless you are married to Artemis. Mhm. Artemis transformed Actaeon into a stag. So that would be a deer, right? Yes. His own pack of dogs failed to recognize him, gave chase, and devoured him. So you see how that worked? He didn't even get a man time to apologize. Off with his head. Because that's exactly what happened. But he shouldn't have been snooping. He shouldn't have been snooping. Because see, if he wasn't snooping, he wouldn't have died. So Actaeon died because he caught Artemis naked, and nobody's supposed to see the moon naked because the vow of chastity. No, unless you're married to the moon, and Artemis wasn't married. So since he caught her naked, okay, bathing with her nymphs, she got pissed off, turned him into a deer, and his dogs killed him. Thanks, paradoxical. You know, sometimes I just use the translate button on an iPhone. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it don't. But I really don't know this one's name. Okay, so another hunter, Orion. Okay, Orion attempted to seduce either Artemis or one of her followers, and this goes back to me saying that maybe the moon is tied to cults because Artemis had a lot of followers, and most of the time, if not more than half of the time, these followers took a vow of chastity. That was pretty much the way for you to get into the members only club. You have to take a vow of chastity. That's how you are able to follow Artemis. And based off of all of this, to me, because I also did read the story of Apollo. So to me, Artemis is more powerful than the sun. Maybe. Because Apollo, yeah, I want to go to war and stuff like that, but Apollo sucked at love. So I don't know if maybe that is the stigma around Leos, that they suck at love. But if they do, it Apollo also sucked at love. He could not win for losing. It's like one of those things, you see somebody, you want the girl, can't get the girl because the girl's taken or she just don't like you. Then you try again and it's the same old thing, you know? But anyway, so the other hunter, Orion, tried to seduce Artemis or one of her followers, and because of that, he ended up being punished. Artemis then sent a scorpion to sting him to death. So Orion could have literally been trying to seduce Artemis to maybe make her his wife. That doesn't work. Because now she's like, you're disrespecting me, and now you gotta die. I'm sorry. The more I read about this, it gives Cancer through and through. Through and through. They may not want to admit it, but you see, even right here, I don't know if Cancers are hard to approach, or maybe they're just hard to approach when it pertains to love because they don't give a chance. Because Miss Artemis here, she ain't giving no chances whatsoever. You tried to maybe seduce her, maybe give her flowers, die, you're dead. Okay. You accidentally walk up on her nude, dead. you know, you don't even get a chance to explain yourself. And then we roll on over to Callisto, was an Arcadian wood nymph and a follower of Artemis. Seeing the nymph in the woods of Arcadia, Zeus became enamored of her and disguising himself as Artemis. Now, Zeus is Artemis's father. Don't forget that. Callisto is somebody that came along and they took the vow of chastity and they want to be a part of the members only club. Okay. And Zeus sees this new person in the members only club because remember, Zeus sees everything. He knows everything that's going on. He can be in multiple places at once because he's a shapeshifter. So he could be having sex with 3 people at the same time because he has the gift of shapeshifting. Okay. So Zeus is just dirty bird, anyway. So Zeus became enamored of Callisto and he decided to disguise himself as his daughter, aka Artemis. Um Disguising himself as Artemis, he ended up surprising Callisto. So the nymph, who was Callisto, recognized Zeus when he embraced her, but defenseless, she was unable to resist him. Of course, he is the god. So despite her innocence, she was banished by Artemis from her company. You see, we have another instance. Callisto, it was not her fault. She was enamored. She was in the presence of the god. She could not resist him. Are you going to say no to Zeus? Probably not, because you don't want to die. But that didn't matter to Artemis because you should have had enough self-control to, reject my father. Are you joking? Like, come on. But this goes into play of possibly Cancers being unforgiving. Because we have 3 stories here showing how unforgiving the moon, aka Cancer, is to people. One time and you're done. Maybe that could possibly be why, you know, people don't really want to deal with Cancers on that level as well, because it's a one and done, and it don't have to even be anything big. It could be something very small, like leaving the toilet seat up. I'm done. You're gonna die. It could be something so small. Okay. Um, hopefully I would hate for that to be the case of why maybe Cancers in or I would hate if that's the case and it ends up being why Cancers end up being single because of what I'm talking about. I would hope not, but to continue. Artemis hears the prayers of those who wish to remain chaste and guard their virtue. Again, virginity. That's what I said. Maybe the moon is actually virginity, or Cancer is actually the virgin, and maybe not necessarily Virgo. I haven't I haven't read the story of Aramis, but I doubt Aramis was a virgin. Let's be honest. The messenger god, maybe he was a virgin. I haven't read the story. So, in Ovid's Metamorphosis, she transformed someone into a crow because she did not wish to be seduced by Poseidon. Hmm. Your uncle? Now I'm gonna have to go back over later on and read the rest and read this part again, because I don't know if this is saying that Artemis did not want to be seduced by her uncle, which that would be right. So she turned whoever nice something into a crow. I'm gonna have to read that later on. Another favorite of Artemis was the virtuous and chaste youth Hippolytus, son of Theseus. Theseus's wife Phaedra became enamored of Hippolytus and attempted to seduce him, but he chastely refused, being a devotee of Artemis. Oh, even Artemis has the men. She got the men and the women taking the vows of chastity. Phaedra scorned, because her feelings are hurt, that Hippolytus, son of Theseus, turned her down. She's mad about this. So then she lied on Hippolytus and accused him of attempting to RAPE her. Wow. Your feelings are hurt, so I'm going to accuse you of a very, very, very serious crime. Theseus, which is Hippolytus's father, then called on the help of Poseidon to kill his son because he believes his wife Phaedra over his son, even though that didn't happen. In Euripides' tragedy, Hippolytus, Artemis, in Euripides' tragedy, Hippolytus, Artemis revealed to Theseus that in his blindness, he brought about the death of his blameless son. That is true, because Phaedra lied. So that is absolutely true. And Theseus killed his own son when he didn't even have the facts. You see how even in Greek mythology, these men are running ragged and they are believing everything that their wives are telling them, even though it's a lie. Anyway, weakness. A man's weakness is what? The woman. If only we could understand this. If only we could understand this, that the man's weakness is us. Okay? Look, it's even in Greek mythology. I'm killing my own flesh and blood over my wife who is not my flesh and blood. That's crazy. Anyway, to continue. Now, according to some sources, at the request of Artemis or the moon, Hippolytus was then revived or brought back up from the dead by famed healer Asclepius and lived on in his new incarnation as Verbius at the sanctuary of Diana at Aricia. Now, Diana is Artemis's place, because remember, Diana, aka, is Artemis. They're the same person. So she revived Hippolytus because, again, she's doing this because he remained faithful to her in his, vow of chastity. So she enlisted help of a healer to bring him back from the dead. Now, I don't know if maybe cancers can do this in real life and bring somebody back from the dead. They may be good at helping people cross over, but maybe this is a gift based off of this particular story. But maybe it only applies to those who have been wronged. Maybe. Hence, maybe cancers are really good mediums, but maybe they don't realize that they're good mediums. Maybe. Okay. Artemis also showed favor to Procris, wife of the hunter Cephalus. Tricked by Eos or Dawn into believing her husband had been unfaithful, Procris joined the company of Artemis on Crete. Procris' wife, okay. Okay, just trying to make sure. Okay, so Procris is the wife to Cephalus. Procris ended up joining Artemis's cult, let's say that, because she was tricked into believing that her husband was cheating on her, to break it down simply. However, Procris, the goddess, excuse me, take that back. However, the goddess refused to accept her presence. Artemis refused to accept Procris because she kept company only with unmarried young women. Again, virgins. Talked about it. Artemis was moved, however, by Procrus's devotion to Cephalus and presented her with a javelin that never missed its mark and a dog that always captured its prey. So I guess there was, a light at the end of the tunnel when it pertains to this story. So, you can't join the cult because you are married, but since you were devoted to me and you showed proper piety to me, I'll give you something. On the same theme of marital affection and loyalty, Artemis took piety on the nymph Egeria, who in Ovid's Metamorphosis was lamenting her dead husband Numa in Artemis's grave. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so Egeria was sobbing. She was crying, maybe really loudly, while in her dead husband's grave, Numa. At that time, after Artemis saw Egeria crying the way that she was while in her husband's grave, she decided to transform her into a spring. I mean, what the hell? I don't think I would go for that. Just let me cry. Because I don't want to be a spring. I don't want to be water. But then again, whatever. She probably liked it. In visual representations, Artemis is depicted as a young, clothed huntress holding a bow, arrows, and quiver, and accompanied by animals, especially hunting dogs, which makes sense why in the Rider-Waite deck, the card has two dogs on it. That makes sense because that signifies the animals that she is accompanied by. Her central attribute is the crescent or the full moon. At times, the crescent moon appears at her forehead, giving her the appearance of being horned. So, like the High Priestess card. Think about the High Priestess tarot card in your mind. The moon is sitting right in the middle of her forehead. She's sitting right in the middle of two pillars that represent what? Light and dark, because she brings the light to the darkness, but she also can move the light out of the way and just be strictly darkness. Very powerful. Um, where to go? Okay, Artemis carrying a bow and accompanied by a hind is shown with Apollo on the tondo of an Attic red figure cup by the Brises painter dating circa 470 BCE. And apparently this is in Paris, if it's still there. Here she carries a quiver and gestures in shock at the scene before her in which Titus, remember, Titus tried to rape her, attempts to abduct her mother, Leto. So, oh no, Titus tried to rape her mother. Okay, that makes sense. Artemis prepares to assist Apollo with her quiver and arrows as Apollo wrestles with Hercules for the Delphic tripod on an Attic red figure, Belly Amphora, from circa day 500 BCE. And that is the story of Artemis. Okay, that didn't go too bad. That didn't go too bad. That didn't go too bad. I mean, I had already read this story before, but I didn't go too bad. Okay, questions. If you guys have any questions about said story, if there's a part you want me to go back over, we can do that. Or you can drop your suggestions on the next story. Who do you want to The next story won't be today, but the next story that you would like to hear about in terms of mythology. I mean, we could go to Apollo since that is Artemis's twin. I mean, there's not a lot to Apollo besides the fact that Apollo actually did snitch on Aphrodite. So I believe the story was that the way that Aphrodite's husband found out that she was having an affair is because of Apollo. He told him, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, 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 uh. So even in Greek mythology, snitches don't get stitches. Trying to see. Oh, I think this is the story. Okay, yeah. Polydorus, da, 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 but deceived him. Yes, that it is right here in Ovid's Metamorphosis. Ares' affair with Aphrodite was discovered by Apollo, who betrayed their affair to her husband. That's how it happened. I knew that's what happened. So, but I think in another story, I think in Hephaestus's story, it actually says that there was a second person that snitched on Aphrodite as well. So I don't know if it was a situation where Aphrodite's husband didn't necessarily believe that she would deceive him. So maybe this second person came in and they were just like, it's really, really true. She is being raw dog behind the Parthenon right now as we speak. You need to hurry because it's happening. So maybe the second person is why, you know, she was pretty much paraded around Mount Olympus being chained to her husband Ares, which, by the way, if you look at the Lover's card and the Rider Waite, that actually would probably depict what I'm talking about with Aphrodite. Because see, in the Rider Waite, the lovers are chained together. I think that's Aphrodite and Ares, if we think about it, because Hephaestus, I think, is also a god. So maybe Hephaestus is that angel right behind Aphrodite and Ares, showing love, but also showing deception. Hence why the Lover's card puts a lot of emphasis on the choices you make plays a big part in how your life will go. Because you see what it did for Aphrodite. Now you're chained to Aries, you got all these kids, but you're also pissed off at the same time. So you ended up being with the person that you kind of wanted to be with, but then maybe it turned out to be that Aries ain't really what you thought he was going to be. So the Lover's card also points to temptation. You got to be careful about being tempted by your carnal pleasures. Okay? I don't know if Hephaestus was actually a higher ranking god Ares. I mean, that doesn't seem likely, but you never know. There's so many Greek gods in here. Ares is just the one we hear about a lot because he is the god of war. So of course we're going to hear about him a lot, you know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure there's probably more gods in here that are more powerful than Ares. My opinion. I mean, like I said, this book I have is like, well, it's 600 pages almost. And there's gods and goddesses, they all have different powers, they all have different stories. Okay. I mean, it's just crazy. And I'm actually trying to see if that is the case, that Hephaestus was actually more powerful than Ares, because they both had, I guess, the weapon of fire, if you think about it. But I just don't know which one was more powerful. Can't forget about Hercules, but well, he's not really tied to a planet. He is tied to an asteroid, but I already talked about that. Asteroid Heracles is actually really, really important. So if you have not looked at your asteroid Heracles, you need to go to my website if it's on there, and you need to look, because that's going to show you where you have god-like power. Wait, was air okay, so Hephaestus was the son of Zeus and Hera. Pretty powerful. We talked about, so Hephaestus had Hera's wrath and Zeus's power. Pretty powerful. Now I don't know about Ares. I think Ares and Zeus are brothers, but let me see. Just quick skim. If you go back up and go to that website that I put in there, you can just type in Greek mythology. It's the first book that comes up that says Greek mythology encyclopedia. That's the one I have. It's a good read. Where is it? Nope. Arcus, that's not it. Um, okay, so Ares and Hephaestus actually are not the same, but they have the same power. Aries is also the son of Zeus, the son of Hera. So is Hephaestus. So that makes sense how Hephaestus was able to parade Ares, his brother, and Aphrodite around in front of the gods the way he did because their power is the same. And he probably had the help of his father to do that because Aphrodite crossed the line. But Nubia, the name of the book is the Greek Mythology Encyclopedia. If you go to that website I put up earlier in the chat, that's the name of it. I'm trying to see if I can find the author. It's called excuse me, I have that wrong. That's not right. I mean, what I said is right, but it's not correct. It's called the Encyclopedia of Greek and Roman Mythology. And it is by Luke Roman and Monica Roman is the authors. It is 561 pages, so that is the right one if you come across that one. And it has on the front, that's Artemis and Apollo technically is on the front of the book. Oh my God, I hope you guys didn't hear that, but you probably did. My child, me getting onto my child talking about I'm so mad. Like, what are you talking about? Mad. Mad because I won't get up and get him any ice cream. um, which I'm about to do because I'm pretty much done. Okay, like I said, unless you guys have questions about something that we went over. Anybody that popped in, of course, you guys can always rewind, play when it comes to what we talked about, because we talked about predictions at the front. I also read you guys the story of Artemis, okay, which I really enjoyed, and it's very cool to read about how powerful the moon is, which I already knew that. But it's very cool to read about it and get some more information and also get onto cancers a little bit, even though I'm a cancer as well. So if I'm getting onto you, I'm getting onto me, but I'm not worried about it because I know how I can be at times. I don't shy away from that. Now, the whole if you mess up with me one time and I send some serpents to kill you in your marital bed, that's a little extreme. I don't think I would do that. But if the situation calls for it and you really screwed up, unfortunately, you're just going to have to deal with the serpents. Okay? Um, yes. Oh, let me see if you guys had I don't know if I can drop the link to the book. Maybe. I might be able to find it or look it up on this page so you guys can read it. I mean, when was this book published? Because I don't remember. Oh, this was 2009. Okay, yeah, this was past the time whenever I would have been able to read that. Okay, where'd it go? Greek mythology. I think I'm getting the link right now so you guys can go straight to it on that little website that I gave you. No, that's not it. There's another Greek mythology book. It's called the Rutledge Handbook of Greek Mythology that I was thinking about downloading. So I'll check that out and see if it's any good. Okay. Before I give it to you guys, because I don't know. Okay, I found the link for the book. Should be once it should pop. Okay, yeah, I'll pin this. Where'd it go? Slow. It'll show eventually. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, There is the book that I am reading, okay? Look, guys, I am not a teacher here. You guys make me feel like I'm a teacher, like you want the so you can follow along or something. But the the link for the book is in the chat. I don't okay, maybe if I start, it'll pin it to the top. Maybe. Okay, yeah, it did pin it. Okay, so the book will be pinned in the chat. So if you guys go back through or if you are listening on replay, just check the pinned message at the top or in the chat and it will let you know or it will give you the link for you to go download it. Okay, make sure you download the PDF one. Okay, the other ones they have are not, it's not going to work. PDF, when you hit the download the PDF one, or it'll download to your phone. And then if you have an iPhone, hit that little box with the arrow through it and then save to your files. Okay. Um, Paradox. I mean, that's true. That's true. People are nuts, so people are crazy. But the funny thing, well, there was no divorce in Greek mythology. so so they just dealt with it or they just married somebody else. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for sticking around for this live. It was cool. Of course, if you wanted me to do more lives like this, of course, let me know and drop the gods that you want to me to talk about because it was pretty interesting and I learned something new today anyway, which is always a good day when you learn something new. So I will see you guys next time. Live chat will be available tomorrow as well from 1 p.m. Central Time to like 8 o'clock around this time. Okay, but I will see you guys later.